is the busiest time of the year for most brands. So we're going to sit down, we're going to talk attribution strategy, how brands, agencies can leverage utilizing an attribution platform like Wicked, vice versa, some other people may use something else. But obviously we're trying to get to the source of truth. How can we use this data to be able to maximize our spend coming into the busiest time of the year? And I think this year, and Scott, I think you'll agree, is probably going to be a lot different than most years. It seems like this will be the first year, I think, kind of everything is calming down from post-COVID. So it'll be very interesting to see what's going to happen in terms of slowdowns, if it'll be the biggest that brands will experience. I really don't know, but I'm kind of excited and interested to see what happens this fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating because there's a lot of different strategies out there that some aren't working as well. There's always, the beauty of this industry is there's always change, and it also drives you crazy. Yeah. But every quarter, it's something new to promote, some new strategy that may work, may not work, works for different brands. And so measurement and attribution are, become more of a kind of like a strategic advantage for people that are, using it in the right way.
Yep.
Not just check and say, hey, how did I do? But actually strategically deploying ad budget based on what they see. And it's never been more recommended to have one based on the signal loss that the ad platforms are getting restriction. We've talked about that a couple times, and everyone knows iOS has made the numbers tougher for the platforms to report on.
Yep.
So we won't belabor that. We'll just get to, okay, how are we going to deal with it profitably? It's basically
what and probably for the newer people that maybe are not as up to speed. The great thing about Wicked and Wicked attribution platform is that it isn't dependent upon iOS. So everything that you guys are collecting is not affected by all of the Apple updates. Obviously, platform signal is, and efficiencies are degraded pretty hard because the platform just can't pick up those signals as strong, but you can still get all of that in platform with Wicked.
Yeah, it's almost like back to like 2018, because for those that, a lot of people are new to the ad game that are in AdLeaks, and some are like old grizzled vets like ourselves.
Yep.
But it didn't used to be that you could just feed the algorithm and it was going to drive tons of growth. Now that still can occur, but there's a lot of, you need a lot of volume and spend. You need the right strategy. But feeding the algorithm, which I guess was around 2019, 2020, when you just, pump in data and it was going to magically make a lot of money, which was fantastic, right? But yeah. Before that, it used to be you had to use some other measurement thing, because Facebook may or may not have helped you out, because the ad platforms, their goal is for you to spend more money on them.
Yep.
And you all want to spend more money on them, particularly if you're getting percent of ad spend as your rate. Everyone's aligned, you want to spend more money, except for your clients who don't, unless they're making more money back, and you got to be able to prove it.
Yep.
And so, particularly Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the conversion time, what's going to make a killer Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you got to execute great those days. But the people that are piling in, collecting their opt-in lists ahead of time, there's the delayed conversion factor. Yeah, you're going to be competing with everyone under the sun Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and every other holiday. Ideally, they're already aware of your brand some, because they're more likely to spend with them. So if you're pounding like opt-in, lead gen, call it what you will. Of course, everyone wants to drive sales, but if you're also at least collecting first-party data one way or another, that's going to make you that much more effective on Black Friday, Cyber Monday when it rolls around.
I do have like something, and I'm not going to share it in this group because it's big. I'm going to save this for the paid AdLeaks group, but I do have a strategy that we've done it the last 3 years, especially pre-COVID, in terms of launch strategy, and we'll do another live stream specifically for that. But I will share something in AdLeaks that when we do it, it makes a huge difference in terms of revenue. It ties into buyer psychology, competitiveness. Everybody is launching Black Friday ads around usually the same time, but there's a strategy in order to maximize that with email. So look for that AdLeaks coming. And if you're not familiar with, you want to get into that, I'll drop a link to get into the AdLeaks Platinum group for that. But that'll be something that I'll go over with probably Nick Shackelford. We usually do that every single year. So
nice. So I got some things to share, and then we'll just converse about it.
Yep.
Where I wanted to start, which will kind of, for people that aren't familiar with how iOS has still dramatically impacted problems. Meta sent out a newsletter. I'm still old school. I say Facebook, so keep that in mind. I say Facebook.
I do too.
So they sent out a thing called Deloitte Signal Resiliency Report. Blah blah blah. What's that mean? Why do you care? Well, you can click and go to the guide, or you don't have to, because I'm just going to tell you about it. They are saying right now, all these third-party cookies and all these, being able to look up phone numbers, and then Facebook would use that to determine attribution. All these signals have gone away.
Yep.
And so what Facebook themselves are recommending, if you cruise down, they get really into it here, is that you should have your own measurements. You need to get measurement. Facebook themselves is saying, hey, you need to go get it. So
why doesn't this is the one question everybody asks me. Why doesn't Facebook just create their own measurement platform?
So Facebook, they've got a couple things going on. So how they built their data empire was they sniff the big thing out of all the two things. The one is they were using your phone number without your permission and looking, but with Apple's permission. So Apple's not this privacy white knight. Apple would say, hey, hand me a phone number and I'll tell you everything I know. And then Facebook would look at it and say, great, I'm going to use it to determine, to make audiences, because you are going to, I like to use music thing, you're going to Guns N' Roses website a lot. So if someone's targeting hard rock, Scott's going to be in there because we know he likes it. He's going to all the hair bands because they see my browsing history. And they say, wow, he spends a lot of time, listening to a Guns N' Roses podcast from his phone. Why is he doing that? I don't know. He's old and weird. But that's how they make the audiences. So that was one thing. But then the other thing is called this third-party cookie tracking.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like super nefarious, but what happens is if I click on a Facebook ad and I go to, let's say Ignite Your Brand, I'm checking you guys out, and then I leave and go start doing my daily, ESPN or whatever I'm going to, Facebook follows you around, and that's without you knowing it. And a lot of people do it. It's not just Facebook. It was just the way you did it. And so that's the signal they were using. It's all their whole tech architecture was built around following you around the web, seeing what you did on your phone, combining it for audiences, lookalike, they used it for everything.
Yep.
And so just snap your fingers when you're a huge company. I've worked at, a couple big companies before I went out on my own. It's hard to get that change and that buy-in. And, part of us probably just didn't want to know it was going to be that bad. And then when everyone was like, I don't want to be tracked, and all of a sudden their whole signal, all their signals collapsed on them. But that's why they didn't do it. So if they were going to rebuild it legally, we've been doing it this way for 8 years, with first-party data. We only allowed to use the data when you come into a particular brand's domain, and then not track people when they leave the domain and go somewhere else. That's one big thing. And then we're trying to vet it with the advertiser permission, against their first-party data.
Yep.
So, and it's only used for the first party. We're not taking it and then allowing your competitor to sign up, and we say, hey, we got this great audience to target, and it's all your customers. That's how Facebook and Google work. They're auctions. Yep. So you got to put your customer data in there to help, but they're using the data to help fuel the audiences that your competition's bidding on too. Yep. So that's why they got all those extra complications. So they're not able to they'd have a lot of major things to read. They have to redo everything if they're going to do it the way we track.
Right. In terms of everybody watching this, and let's say you have a new brand right now that's not using a measurement platform, and they kick it up this week, next week, come on board with Wicked. How are they going to be able to maximize without that history for Q4 being in such the short term? What's the best way for them, late to the game, so to say, to maximize this quarter?
So let me pop into Wicked Reports live data here. Let me go in here.
And when you say live data now, I know that was always one of the big things that you guys have been working on for quite a while. That is now fully rolled out.
Fully rolled out. So live data, but to get specifically to the question on that. So what we do, we cross-reference. Let me show you two non-attribution, but more customer lifetime value and conversion time. So we're going to cross-reference your CRM with your cart pre-Wicked to go in and look and say, how long is conversion time?
And now when you say pre-Wicked, just explain that for what that means to people so they understand where we're going.
Sure. So you sign up and you don't have any tracking history yet because you just signed up and integrated your systems with us. So we can already provide value by cross-referencing your CRM and your shopping cart data. Let's say Klaviyo, Shopify, WooCommerce, all the major ones. We have them all to show you in the past year, how long is it taking customers to convert? Because this delayed time is very real for media buyers, particularly at something more expensive, or when your brand's newer and you don't have a huge list yet, or if people take time to convert generally, is a standard, particularly when you're not a household brand, which no one really is in AdLeaks. You know, I mean, we get a few household brands on Wick Reports, but not a lot. And so learning that, how long they take gives you an idea. So this is a particular advertiser. Just take this one line here. In the last year, it took 1 to 2 weeks for 500 people to make their first sale. That means 1 to 2 weeks from the time they showed up in his Klaviyo until they showed up in his Shopify. And then look at how many people took 2 to 4 weeks. And look at more than 180 days, because this lets you know that I run ads. If I'm only break even after like a week or two, that's not bad, because I still have, you know, half of my sales are going to continue to roll in over time.
Yep.
And then additionally, customer lifetime value here. How valuable do leads become over time? Like in this case, you know, sometimes you get, you know, more valuable leads, but then they don't accrue as much value. And sometimes they're like start at $7 and they get almost the double in 4 months. And so these type of data input, and then here was like he started at $6 and he doubled, you know, that was you know, around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then, you know, almost doubled the money in a couple months. So this helps with your front end strategies, your top of the funnel, your cold traffic. You can break, you know, if you can get just a little bit above break even with top of the funnel, then when the repeat purchases roll in or the subscriptions even better, you're actually going to make a lot of profit on.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, so we now have live data. Let me go into this guy's account. You know, I got like 55 accounts here. And we have, you know, let me get my slides too. I got a couple of slides I want to talk about. But we basically have live data, which I can pull up in the app too, but it's it's anywhere between 5 to 30 minutes. And so we're pulling in all the different ad platforms and your CRM and your actual real sales and matching them up so you can get directional advice on how you're doing on a given day.
Now, the cool thing about that, I believe an opted out user can take 24 to 72 hours, I believe it is, to show up in Facebook. So now how does that
no impact on us?
So you're pulling in, if they purchase within that and they're opted out, you're able to see that within 5 to 30 minutes post purchase if they were basically.
Yeah, there's no bearing. So this will all reconcile to your cart too. So when you're cart, meaning, you know, Woo or Shopify, we have a lot of API people actually with all their custom carts and what have you. But so 13 attributed sales today, 49 overall. So he's had, you know, 30, he has subscriptions, other stuff going on. So we have the actual cart in and then how many we attributed in that particular tight time frame. And then we'll go back at night and then re-pull, because the ad platforms continually update their data. Like you could look and then look at the same time frame later in the day and they've changed what they're reporting. So we keep refreshing it and then we clean it up overnight. So then in the next day, we'll attribute the rest of these. But this is to give you like, hey, okay, I got 7 off email. You know, Microsoft, they don't get a lot of love. If you got an older demographic, Microsoft does really well for people. I know everyone's all into TikTok and Snap and all that. That's great, right? But good old Microsoft, you know, Yahoo browser, you don't change your defaults.
Yep.
Those people that are like, you know, 60 plus, you know, you're targeting them for whatever stuff, or for whatever reason, people maybe like the Microsoft browser. I don't know, search, but it does surprisingly well. I would not.
They also tie into other search engines too. I mean, they have, you know, I think they like tie into like DuckDuckGo and some other ones, but we actually have a brand that's a younger demographic, and actually their CPA probably outperforms Google by, probably like a fifth. I mean, a huge difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I also want to talk about another thing it's called overcoming the limits of last click. So here's what I mean by that. I'm going to pull up this guy's last click here. And actually I got some Facebook one, but here's a particular guy, client's last click. Now look at the distribution here. Now, last click is normally people look top of the funnel to first click, bottom of the funnel, last click. And there's nothing wrong with that. That can get you, you know, pretty far. What we noticed, the problem with it is, you know, SMS, for example, this huge chunk of SMS sales, like in this other here, 315K, I think it was text. Now you're a paid media buyer and you see organic SMS and email, well, two things. One, you're not getting credit, and your clients will say, well, what do I need you for? I got this, which would be ignorant, but they do.
I know, that's what all
I've been on both ends of the relationship.
most are ignorant. So
yeah, most are actually ignorant. They're just like, oh, it's my great email. We're like, well, how did you get that person emails from my ads? And as Attribution's approach normally has been, we want to give you credit for what finally converted them, and we want to show you how they first heard about you. But the real juice we found with this new release is that the clicks near the end of this journey are really powerful, because if you convert on SMS, organic, or branded search, for example, or email, this particular guy, we dug in here, right?
Yep.
And he has 750K out of his million in the month was all these media buyer wouldn't get credit for him. The media buyer get credit for the $250,000 and wouldn't get credit for this much. But these happen because people, let's just walk through a branded search. Like I go in, I type in, I don't know what we're going to buy here for the day.
AdLeaks.com.
What's that?
AdLeaks.com.
AdLeaks.com. Now, I didn't just wake up and say, man, I need to get better at my media game. I might have thought that, but I didn't just go to AdLeaks.com. I had to do stuff. But then at the end, if I'm actually buying a membership and I'm typing in AdLeaks.com, and then I either go directly there and it's organic, or I click on the ad at the top of Google and it's AdLeaks branded search, which media buyers like to do because they're protecting the brand. Nothing wrong with that. But then that's not really actionable, but it's also, it's hiding something else got them to that point.
Yep.
And so that's a big problem, because you got all these juicy clicks that are really important. And as an agency or media buyer, you want credit. Of course, everyone wants credit. I mean, everybody works, they want credit. Well, I'm going to get to how we're going to show that live here. Same with email. Well, how did they get on the list to begin with? Like you had to drive them something. You did a abandoned cart capture. You did a opt-in to get a BOGO or a free ship or play a game deal. Something like that. Well, then you convert off the email. Well, marketing drove them to get into the CRM or whatever list gen. Same with SMS, which again, this guy's doing 300K off SMS. Well, people had to be comfortable enough to give them the phone number. And there are some great funnels that sometimes can convert people right away. I'm talking for the purposes of how attribution can give you an edge, is that generally when people first have an ad impression from a new brand, they're going to have to come and visit a few times. There was the rule of 7 back in the days of Ogilvy. You go to thinkwithgoogle.com and Google attribution or measurement, they show someone buying headphones and they had 400 touch points.
Yep.
Now with attribution, if we went in and let's just say AdLeaks is a grand, how much is it to join? $200 a month? I don't remember now.
It's 99.
99 bucks. So let's just say you had 20 clicks to get there. Well, we're going to give each click $4.50. It's be really hard to show ROI if you have you got your cold traffic, and you got your middle funnel, you're sending them content ads, then you retarget them to buy, then they abandon the cart. Maybe abandon cart, get the credit. But the one before him that got him to even get as close to get into the cart, like the view content ad, if you got a couple like your traditional e-commerce funnel, you got some content stuff in the middle, you're trying to get them to the cart. Of course, you're trying to get them to buy. And then if not, you do abandon cart. Well, maybe abandon cart get all the credit. And you're like, well, how the hell I get them to abandon the cart? It's the clicks before the last click. You call them middle funnel, assisted conversions. Same with organic. You see the directs in there. You go in Google Analytics, see a bunch of directs, and you pull your hair out. You're like, this is useless info. Now, I'm going to show the impact, but I just want to show briefly here. Here's the before and after customer here. We're seeing, 100% additional ROI credited, because we now have this technology that does the clicks before the last click, not in a pure mathematical, I'm the data guy. I like to just do these pure models. We were like, how can we give maximum signal so that you can see, hey, I'm really driving a lot of revenue. So
And that's the ignore. Are you talking about the ignore last click?
Ignore.
Yep.
So here we are. Here's his Facebook right here. I think I got it queued up in order. Let me see. Yep. Okay, cool. So here's a Facebook. I just did on a Facebook last clip. Right here he is. He's got 56% ROI. Not terrible. It's fine potentially, but then some negative ROASs that clients might not be happy with. The right here is doing pretty good, and then some so-so ones. So we have this feature where you come in and you can say, hey, I want to ignore other clicks, which means ignore. Basically, we're renaming it middle funnel assisted conversions. You can check it right now. It's kind of like sort of a techie egghead way we said it. We should have said it different. But basically means what we're actually saying is, hey, ignore branded search, SMS, email, and organic, and tell me, did paid contribute to this sale? And you'll see here, if I look before 56, after, I mean, that's a massive ROAS increase. Massive. Look at these jumps. And it's a combination of two things. One is the additional revenue. See, we went up a couple grand in revenue. And then the second one is we're pulling in Facebook view conversions at the bottom of the funnel as well. So we can get into views and who likes them and doesn't, but there's this ability to hide and show view conversions directly from Facebook that we're pulling in and allowing you to say, hey, you know what? If it was a one-day view at the bottom of the funnel, I want to know. And if you're in Facebook, they're showing the delayed model, but we're able to pull in the views faster than the model has a model and actually given to you as well. So you're seeing more attributed revenue and more view revenue, kind of like a 1-2 punch.
What's the incremental Facebook offline conversions revenue?
That is an additional view. So we worked with Facebook, you know, they've had some turnover, but they used to have a really cool team that we worked with that we would say, if something was completely unattractive, because we can generally track a ton of stuff, but if someone was fully untracked on an order and or all we had was direct and organic, and we're like, you know what, something must have happened. And then we checked all our other channels because we're multi-channel. We checked, you know, Google, Microsoft, email, SMS. We can find no reason to give anyone credit. We send it to Facebook and then take the view there. So this is a pure amount of views that we know has no tracking anywhere else for any reason in the last 14 days.
So that could be someone just remembers something 2 weeks later.
Someone's
I heard
you were
from,
talking and I
yep.
say, oh, you got to go to AdLeaks, man. It's the best. And then you type it in and go sign up.
Yeah. Okay.
And then this is Facebook's, you know, very optimistic way of doing things. But that being said, some of these are valid. And so we have this, you mouse over, you see this 100% confidence. I did that on purpose with this account to show you this is the most extreme. Now, depending on how you think about views, I'm kind of middle of the road. I'm a realist. I try to be practical with attribution. You gotta, if you act on the data and it makes you more money or saves you money, then the data is doing its job. And if not, then it's not. People want to get these big debates. Well, what if this and this device, they have 7 devices and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if we show you data and you act on it and you make more money or you stop wasting money, then we're doing our job. You should be making 10x on what you pay us. Paying us $8 a month, you should be saving $8 grand.
Yeah, my view on view through conversions is they're good to see, but if the click data doesn't support what the view through data is showing, then I don't optimize towards it. You know, if I'm running a YouTube campaign and I have 100 purchases and 99 out of those are view through,
yeah.
Do I want to put more money into it? Probably not, especially like if I wasn't excluding hard on like middle of funnel and, you know, engagers and stuff, then you could understand why, but definitely take it with some salt for sure. But it's good to see 100%.
It's good to see. It's here for the visibility, and then you can tune it down. You can go in and say, no, I only want to do 50% confidence. Now, yeah, with this one, this particular one where they're killing it on clicks, these views are probably totally legit, and this is just like a monster campaign.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with a Labor Day sale? Well, I guess what's coming up? Well, Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm an 8th Indian, so I mean I'm not a huge Columbus fan, but I'm not politically correct either. I call it Columbus Day even though I'm Indian. 1/8 Indian. But that being said, you can do it for whatever you call that holiday or Halloween. You can say, hey, whatever tactics I did here, I mean, can I reuse them for the next holiday because it worked? Yep. That would be the takeaway from what I do with this. And furthermore, next Labor Day, file this one away. It worked really well. And then this one, you know, it wasn't so great. And then this one's pretty good. And subscription one is usually always going to have some delayed value. And, you know, that's Wick reports. We mine in for the subscriptions and then attribute them back appropriately. That can really whack out data if you don't have subscriptions.
So one thing that I see really, really cool here that most people may not pick up on, but I see for the IYB, all funnels, lead gen, sign up campaign, 2570 spend. Most people would look at that and say, well, yeah, we spent $2,500. We didn't even get a purchase. Yeah, but look at your new leads. So you guys have technology to where you could do new lead cohort reporting, right?
Yes.
And we could, based on those leads, figure out revenue type situations off of what we're inputting from a front end spend perspective.
Correct. And so we pop them up. So see, you can see the actual people here. You know, I have God rights in my system. I should probably hide these poor folks that just wanted to get some lobster. But you can pop on and you can see all our numbers are verifiable against the source system. So when we report 383 leads, those have this guy, I think Clavio profiles, and we have the profile ID. And then, you know, you go click on, you know, whoever this God's ZRT here and see like, what did they do? And all they did was they clicked and then they joined the list. They didn't do anything else. So nothing too exciting. Brand new lead, fresh lead yesterday.
Yep.
So then, yeah, that again, the likely, not always, sometimes people buy right away. They're already worse, you know, particularly with search, but with Facebook, you know, they do buy sometimes right away. But so, yeah, so now whenever down the road, Shopify suddenly shows up with a sale for this person, it might not be to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And then all of a sudden, boom, then you come back in. I got a whole masterclass on it. We won't get all that into it, but that Wednesday, Thursday, when the dust settles, you want to go back to like whenever you started doing these lead gens. That's why you should be doing them. This is killer that he's doing it. That yep. These are definitely going to have more ROAS. I mean, it's not like 383 people. Someone's going to want to buy this stuff.
Well, sort by spend cost. Show the zero spend.
Oh yeah. So here's this is the last click model. So let's go to the top of the funnel. That's a good idea. And I want to pop in one case study to show you about the top of the funnel.
I think you know where I was going with that.
Yeah. The zero, the delays that we will. So here's a cold traffic top of funnel case study. We have guy Umzu, UMZU. They sell dog digestive health supplements. I mean, there's so many ways to make money. This guy is wicked sharp media buyer. So these are real numbers. They seem, you know, pretty, I mean, you know, it's not like attribution. Everyone signs up, you know, I know one of my competitors, you know, you're going to make you rich in 90 days or else. I mean, if you can do that, great, but that's not generally the case. Attribution can take some time and some strategy. But these people did do these crazy numbers, and we're going to get into what you're talking about, but for cold traffic, if they're at negative 20%, they start doubling and tripling the ad spend because they know all these people on the dog supplements are going to renew for the next month with their subscription, and then everything's going to be wildly profitable. But even better, because if you're in Facebook, I mean, because these drill down these campaigns, you can get in here and see like who he's targeting or whatever. I don't know if there's much. So let's say, okay, so it's all coming from here on this particular time frame. But this ad set probably, you know, doesn't look, you know, this one's more of a broad, but if you get more strategic with it, or more, not that was strategic, but you get more like granular with your targeting. All your competitors are bidding on the same audience as cold. They don't look profitable on Facebook, but with Wicked, once they recur or Black Friday, Cyber Monday, if some other holiday comes along and you get a ton of email and SMS sales, then we tick up the revenue for the audiences. And you're like, geez, I'm making 5 to 1 on this audience that, you know, may or may not look very valuable to anyone else bidding on them in Facebook. So it's a huge advantage, huge. Now, specifically how they do that, which I'll go to this new lead ROI. Let's do that for these guys. So we'll get to the $0 ones. So this is that new lead ROI where he spent 40 grand on Facebook, made $250,000. And this is all just from the leads. And so where you were going, here it is right here, right? Let's look at these are some wicked old.
So let's stop at that $47,000 one. Scroll up.
Yeah. That's a great example. So what's happening here? I don't even know. This was some, you know, ad campaign they did a year and a half ago. And in the last 30 days, 224 people bought that became leads. I mean, let me go, you know what? I think I have let me pull in the column of last or first click date. This one might be so old. I don't even know if it has one. Where was it? 224 here. Let me get to I should have dragged the column over. Sorry, user error here. Oh yeah, first click date. Here it is. Where's the 224? It's called 415 conversions. First click date, 2020. Like these things happen, and and the last click date was like 9/11 last year. So it was a year ago they stopped running the ad. Or maybe I was on the wrong column. Sure, but the point is that's 55. Yeah. So 55 sales occurred from people that were acquired a year ago, and then we can track and show the credit. So you're a media buyer, right? You come in and be like, clients like, you know, let's just say you test, you know, you guys always have to be testing new stuff. You run a test, yeah, it's doing so-so, clients griping. You'd be like, hey, the 10 grand in the till for this from that campaign I did a year ago, that 10 grand you closed off email and SMS or organic, I got those leads, and here's the proof. You can click on them. We'll pull up who they are. You gotta go back in time to find this one here. It might take a second. We'll go back and say, okay, where are all these sales that were like these leads from like 18 months ago, and who they were, what they clicked on.
So this is the one thing that you're pulling up here, and everyone asks me, like, all the other attribution platforms out there that I know of, I have not come across one, but there's no way to validate what they're reporting out, essentially.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So with this, we can validate all of the data, like
always. We always prove our data. So these are the people, these are the Shopify IDs. This is the order date. Here's where they first came in on, which was like
you can see on each order, every single click that took place for that order.
Everything we know. So if someone comes in, it used to be with Facebook, it doesn't happen anymore. They come in, Facebook's reporting, 1 million ROI. You guys are reporting 150, 1.5. We'd be like, well, Facebook's, so look at this, was Facebook, lobster dipping on May 9th. Then he's in some Klaviyo flows where the UTMs weren't set up, unfortunately. And then he bought from a Klaviyo flow. And let's go see what was the URL. He just put it right in the cart off a flow. And this was a lead that had been in there, not doing much. Just a dead lead, man. Rekindled them. So if we did the ignore clicks, this guy would get credit. And then but normally from traditional attribution, last click would say Klaviyo. You're like, okay, good, Klaviyo. And then you bought the lobsters or whatever. And you can go see the ID and in Shopify if you want to validate it.
So in last click would be email. First click would be what?
Facebook.
From 2 years
back.
ago.
Yeah, we'd update the rev. Now, this is an extreme example to show you, but these can happen in actionable time periods. It could just be the lead gen we saw there, the 383 leads. Those will start, converting hopefully over the next month and a half, and then this will go up. This just shows how extreme we can track, forever, and then they finally start buying.
Yep.
So sometimes, hopefully you want that quicker. Now, that accuracy thing. So I went in on this, wickedreports.com/overcounting. I got a free vid here, but basically during his year to date, you went into each system. Google reported 5 mil, Klaviyo 1.1, Attentive 1.4. It's just looking at the top 4. I didn't even get to his Microsoft or his TikTok or his organic. It was showing 7.8 million in revenue, and he only made 3.1. And so why do you care about that? Well, it means that sometimes you're spending where you're not supposed to. And conversely, what we just showed that one, you're not spending on things that just took a little bit of time, because everyone's gotten real good at, basically your checkout page happens and like 85 texts are running to try and desperately claim credit. So you spend more money there. And you may or may not. I mean, I love media buying. It's our whole business is based on people spending and getting ROI. So I'm not saying the ad platforms are quote unquote being bad, but they're very motivated to show credit when it's not always necessarily true. So for us to be able to look someone in the eye and say something different, any number you click on, you can see everything. As I showed, you can see all of it.
Yep.
And in particular, when you first sign up and Facebook's way ahead, that's why we bring in the view visibility, because we're like, hey, I lost my windows here. I got too many windows up. I went off that view page, but when you get the views in there also, you get the visibility. Like, hey, yeah, we're off because Facebook has all these view conversions. You can trust them or not. You change your mind on the fly. So that's what we do.
Yep.
Now, so the one with this cold traffic here, so we were on this one. This is the big one for, in particular, like the holidays coming up. So you're gonna, in the holidays when everyone's itchy to buy, yeah, you're just running things, buy my stuff, all your different angles on that. And that's what you should be doing. But that means you need to be harvesting to get more first party data, because you can target them better, stronger lookalikes. But also then these audiences here, let's just look what this guy is, audience testing. Here's 2 particular ones. Let's see nothing. Let's see if we get anything like, let's see what Labor Day has in here. Maybe they have a bunch of them. Warm and hot. Here we go. Here's 4. All the money went to this one. And then why is this one show sales? These were interests that they turned off, and then they got a couple delayed sales. So 1 or 2 delayed sales isn't going to be enough to say, hey, we got to turn this back on, but it's just, that's the accuracy. Let's look here at the 224. Let's see what the heck's going on here. So here's a spread. So this is interesting, right? Maine Lobster Festival, 10 sales worth $2,000. Now he got to go back and see how much he spent to get them, but that's kind of nice. Get 10 sales, 13 here with a lookalike tier that worked. Interest Lobster is kind of, you know, probably basic for him. But some of these ad sets did much better than others. So those are the ones you're going to say, hey, seafood restaurant, I'm going to in my next campaign, I might want to turn these target them specifically because they've proven to be profitable with a customer base that is still buying a year after they were acquired. So that as just a lead. So that's a strong target. They're still buying. So that's the power of that top of the funnel tracking, like I mentioned with the dog supplement people, that they spend when it's negative, because then when this hits, you know, the revenue, the ROI goes way up. So, you know, what I thought I would kind of do for the folks here, 2 things. If anyone wants a private guided tour, I can just put this in the Slack or the Zoom, excuse me.
Yeah, if you send it to me, I'll drop it in the Facebook Live.
I'll put it in the chat here, plop it in. That can book a meeting. And then anyone that just mention AdLeaks if you buy, and I'll personally consult on the data once it's, I didn't finish my sentence here. Once you're integrated. So I'm not going to be your setup person. I mean, I'm running a company here.
You guys also have if I'm not mistaken, you just rolled out something pretty cool, like Zoom support. Like, if that's the one thing I want to tell everybody is, a lot of people I think have, especially if you're not familiar with attribution and you don't understand it, you could sign up for any attribution platform, and it can be a bit overwhelming, very overwhelming. And because there's so many different ways to look at how you're trying to pinpoint. So I think you guys have a new service that you've recently rolled out, which can help people that don't have the level of attribution knowledge that myself or you may have, or some others in the group.
Correct. So what we do is you get a dedicated rep that helps you onboard. In some cases, if you have our standard integrations and you're just doing maybe some opt-in capture and email, SMS, you only have a few channels going, you don't really, it's probably overkill. But in that case, our dedicated rep is with you until you have successfully executed what we call a Wicked Reports play. What that means is you've done some sort of optimization based on the data. So we know you're not just looking at yet another system with more data. You're like, what the hell am I gonna do with all this? We're gonna make sure you actually have done something. And then that's when someone on my team's allowed to graduate you. And until then, now that might be really fast. You might be a whiz, it might be straightforward, or it might be like, I've already tried 3, 4 other things and nothing's worked. And then we know, okay, tell us exactly why it didn't work last time. And you're gonna have live Zoom calls. I mean, you don't have them every day, but it's whatever you need until you've successfully done something with the data. That's what we committed to.
Yep.
And then furthermore, we have a data scientist that I personally trained up that will go in and give you, if you wish, monthly recorded insights. Just send you a loom and be like, hey, I was looking at your data. I think you should move some budget here. Hey, at the top of the funnel, this one's now profitable. You know, he does it all day. So, I mean, he just is very good at it. So yeah, we have live Zoom support. And then for agencies, we have dedicated Slack, which is extremely popular now for the agencies. So I pile in my whole support team. I mean, it's not a massive team. It's like 12, I think we got 12 folks. So you get 12 Wicked Reports people that all they do is attribution. And so then you can just, or I think maybe your Slack group will get 8 out of the 12. And so then you can just ping, and, it's not like, they might be on a Zoom or something, but within that same day, if not sooner, someone's going to respond, maybe even tag our product manager, can help influence the product, what we're going to do next. Because I mean, live data came. I mean, Justin, you were one of the drivers that you're like, you guys need live data. And I was like, you don't need live data for attribution. And you were like, yes, you do. And then a couple other agencies and brands had mentioned the same. And so we listened and we put it in, and we're pretty jazzed about it, actually. So, I don't always pretend like I got all the right answers. I like to think that I don't.
Okay, cool. But yeah, super exciting. We use Wicked, and we definitely love it. A lot of cool stuff in here. We didn't even get to all of what you can do. If you do have questions, anything, you guys can always feel free to send me a DM as well. Definitely happy to dive in and kind of help with any questions or anything like that. So
I'll say we're also, I'd say we've been doing this just pure attribution. I can't believe it. I think it's going on my 10th year, 2023. So, there are some other platforms with some nice stuff in them as well. And I think that our specialty though is hardcore, down and dirty attribution. That's what we've always obsessed about. And so this new middle funnel thing, I mean, I think probably the competition gonna have to build it in because it's so powerful. And it's different than a traditional multi-touch. It gives stronger signals based on, I've been doing this for 10 years. I mean, if I wasn't good at it, I'd be pathetic. Do something for 10 years, you should be good at it by then, Christ.
you would think.
And Leilani, I know you guys had done pretty intense bake-offs. So we were happy that we had won them, and with some of the other solutions that there were.
We always test other platforms. I mean, we've used most of them. We're always constantly running tests and comparing data. And there's a lot of them do a lot of what Wicked does, but Wicked just does a lot of what other ones cannot do. Which is why, we've always fell back to Wicked. I mean, there's just not another platform that's as good out there.
Appreciate that.
And if somebody here has an attribution platform, send me the link. I'll check it out and I'll tell you. Because I'm always going to come back to you, Scott, and say, hey, number one, the support is amazing. Don't get that a lot with the other platforms. The ability for you guys to roll out things that we bring to you, like the live data, a bunch of other stuff, gets implemented super, super duper quick and gets put into the, the roadmaps. So I feel like you guys are shaping this for the future, which is really, really cool. It's just, I think a lot of people that go out to other platforms, they may not fully understand what you can do with like the new lead cohort reporting, the middle of funnel, ignore clicks, things of that nature that a lot of the other platforms I do not believe have a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
To where you can dive into.
And if it turned into, I mean, I don't think attribution will get there for a while, but just think of like all the different CRMs and they all kind of say they do the same thing. And it's tough to tell. Then you just compete on price. Ours is we're always going to compete on, we're going to make the data actionable so that you're going to get 10x on what you paid.
Yep.
Not like a quick money back guarantee. We're trying to get you in hyper fast and look how easy. I mean, it may be easy, it may not, but we really want to be a partner. Like we're not out advertising, I need phone closers for high ticket sales and all that. Like we want to partner with the brands because it's just more fulfilling. We enjoy it more. We like when people are having success. That's why we do it. Yep. So I think having a live, Slack and live Zoom until people connect on the data is something that I think the platform should do because it's really our customers really appreciate it. Then we know we're going to go whatever it takes to get it set up.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to tag Scott. He is in the group. If you have any questions, let me know and we will go from there. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Scott.